The reason why we came up with this talk show is because as nonprofits, especially nonprofits in Washington State, there's been a lot of cuts to our funding. So to be honest with you, we were strategic because we have to have a megaphone to be able to spread our word. And so our talk show, we cover conversations around sports, mental health, and sickle cell anemia.
In medical school, the first illness I remember learning about was sickle cell disease. Now, this wasn't offered to us in school out of some sense of enlightenment about issues like medicine's racist past. No. Instead, it was just a useful vehicle as a way for us to learn a little bit about the body. Sickle cell disease charts a course showing us how the most basic building blocks in our bodies, these amino acids, which make up the structures of all manner of substances in our bodies, and how those substances determine how different parts of our bodies function. And sickle cell disease teaches you that you can change just one single amino acid in this long chain that make up red blood cells, and disease happens. Red blood cells go from floppy shapes, able to flow smoothly through capillaries and deliver oxygen wherever our bodies need it, to becoming these sticky spikes that plug vessels, starve tissues of oxygen, cause pain, and damage virtually any part of your body. No other disease did as clear a job of helping a new medical student see the whole path, from changing just one amino acid to affecting the whole body. Now, I absolutely promise every one of you that there will not be a test at the end of this discussion. But my main point is, for all they taught me in medical school about sickle cell disease, on day one, they left the whole issue of community and racism out of that education.
Sickle cell anemia is one of the pillars that means the most to me. 10 years ago, I found out that my oldest daughter was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia 5 days after she was born. And before that, I never knew that I carried hemoglobin C, which is a C trait. I was born in '82, and that testing didn't start, as so many of the warriors you see here in our audience, that testing didn't start until 2007 or 8. And so with that being said, me and my high school sweetheart, we got married. 10 years later, we had kids. And then that's when we found out that sickle cell was going to be one of my missions in life.
Ashe? Ashe. Sickle cell disease has much to teach us about racism in research. The long-standing underinvestment in sickle cell disease research has forced many more Black generations to suffer inadequate and antiquated care. The harm of underinvesting in research is a lesson we must heed today across the spectrum of all medical research, as this presidential administration actively eliminates research investments for which our country will pay in suffering and lives lost for a long time to come. Thanks to you all, I have chosen to become a farmer of hope. I have carefully cultivated my hope. Not by waiting for someone else to bring hope to me, not by hoping that someone else will just fix things, but by seeding hope within myself. On those good days, you know what I'm talking about, those good days, those wonderful days when I'm surrounded by good people like you all, good people sharing celebrations. On those good days, my hope is nourished and it grows. It grows. It grows and it blooms and it strengthens. So that on those other days, those harder days, when the worst people are doing their worst, when I'm feeling the pain, even though it might not show up on any blood test, then I'm reaching inside and I'm tapping into that hope that it feeds me. I want you to hear a few words from one of my favorite people in the universe, Lenny Wilkens, and then I want to say a few words about one of my favorite people, Lenny Wilkens.
Nice.
I know that the best talk is that with a good beginning, good ending, very little in between. I'll keep that in mind while I'm up here. But when I first came to Seattle a few years ago, I met two women who sort of adopted my wife and I. They introduced me, got me involved with the Odessa Brown Children's Clinic. And I was just overwhelmed because, I got to meet Toby Burton and eventually got to know Dr. Ben Danielson. And when I saw what they were doing with young people, I said, no, that's what I'm going to be involved with. Because I feel that young people are tomorrow's doctors, lawyers, politicians, or athletes. They're the future. And we need to let them know that they make a difference, that they belong. And in case you don't know how lucky you are to have Dr. Ben Danielson, let me tell you, you're lucky. I mean, this is somebody who makes our community better, makes it what it is.
Yeah.
And that's important. That's very important. And all of us need to continue that. Let's make this the best community. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of what you do all the time. Thank you.
I practiced pediatrics for a couple of decades at this incredible place called the Odessa Brown Children's Clinic. Ashe. That was like gratuitous where I asked you to say it. That clinic's amazing to me. It's a jewel. It's a jewel in the Central District that goes back over a half a century. And you should know it is named Odessa Brown Clinic, not David Brown Clinic. It's named after women who've been doing the work like Katie, carrying the water, doing the work for our communities over and over again, just like its neighbor, Carolyn Downs. It's been women, Black women, who've been doing our work in our communities over and over again. You're a part of a legacy, girl. You're a part of a legacy of people who have done so much. I'm so grateful to you all for the learnings that you've offered. I'm sharing a little snippet. You've taught me so much more. And I'm grateful for who you are. And I understand my assignment to learn, to unlearn, to help cultivate hope, to be a hope farmer. To be the ally, the partner, the co-conspirator, the co-resistor. I am my own particular swatch of fabric. I'm a piece of fabric that helps complete the quilt and makes our community beautifully whole. And I thank you for allowing me to be part of that. That's all I got to say.
Give it up for Dr. Ben Danielson, everybody. That was amazing.
So Mayor Harrell, if you want to give us the proclamation first, and
Yes.
then we can hop into the questions.
Whereas sickle cell anemia and sickle cell disease, used interchangeably, refer to a group of inherited disorders that affects the red blood cells, and whereas sickle cell disease is a rare condition in which the body produces abnormally shaped red blood cells that resemble a crescent or a sickle. They do not last as long as healthy red blood cells and lead to anemia. And whereas in Washington state, approximately 1 in 12 Black or African American people have the sickle cell trait, and the disease itself disproportionately impacts Black communities. And whereas sickle cell disease can lead to a 25 to 30 year reduction in life expectancy, while access to comprehensive care remains limited by social, economic, cultural, and geographic barriers. And whereas despite progress in research and new therapies, there is still no widely available cure, and patients and families continue to face significant medical, financial, and social challenges. And whereas the City of Seattle recognizes the strength and resilience of individuals and families affected by sickle cell disease and reaffirms its commitment to raising awareness, supporting equitable access to care, and uplifting the voices of impacted communities. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Harrell, Mayor of Seattle, do hereby proclaim September 17th, 2025 to be Sickle Cell Awareness Day in Seattle.
Yes.
Sickle cell normally would have to be tested by test mom if she's a carrier, which we saw today.
Right,
Then you'd have to test dad to find out if he's a carrier.
right.
What Unity does is differently. Is we test mom. So if you're a carrier, we're going to look at your baby immediately from that same blood draw
Understood.
and say your baby either has it or doesn't.
Understood.
So 99% of the time, moms get said, you're a carrier, whoa, but your baby's fine. So it alleviates stress there.
Right.
But for the ones that are carriers, we can treat. Things like stem cells. You can bank your cord blood. You get one opportunity that can change the outcome of the baby. There's so many treatments nowadays.
Right.
You can treat babies before they're born, or at minimum, be ready to treat right after they're born.
I like that you say that because sickle cell can be an invisible disease. And I would say as a caregiver, a lot of times people would say, well, she doesn't look like she has sickle cell. And so Mayor, as the mayor of our vibrant city, and to be transparent, we were a family that left because of sickle cell to find better care. But what we learned is that Seattle Children's truly does have the best science in the country. And so if you can talk for children, can you talk to us a little bit about what is like your mission? How do the city mobilize around sickle cell?
Yeah, there's a few ideas. Number one, my wife couldn't make it, but she sits on the board of Fred Hutch. And one of the work she's doing at Fred Hutch in terms of cancer research is making sure that, once again, the inequities of disproportionately of Black and brown people that are always addressed in cancer research, and there's a huge disparity. And as I mentioned in my remarks, that sickle cell anemia wasn't something that was openly talked about. Even the genetic screening for it wasn't openly talked about it. When you're looking at a smaller demographic or 100,000 families, people that may be affected in the United States, we'll have 34 health centers for kids, particularly in high school, to be able to talk about what they're going through. And that psychological piece becomes critical. And again, I know Odessa Brown is well represented here, and their expansion is a great model that I think countries could look at, that we have to be very granular in our approach to sickle cell anemia.
The country fell asleep and allowed this to happen. Now you see what's going on, and it will not get any better soon. And so work on this and make sure that you pass the truth and educate people about not only sickle cell anemia, but the healthcare system and the conditions and what we are in. We have to stick together as a people, not just Black people. Fred Hampton started and launched the first Rainbow Coalition. And what he said is what we need: all power to the people. We need white power for white people, brown power for brown people, yellow power for yellow people, red power for red people, black power for black people. We need all power to the people. And that's what we need today, all power to the people.
With battling sickle cell disease, with the awareness that we have going on here, how can someone like me that's not more so accustomed to what sickle cell is, how can someone like me be a resource or an ally towards those people that do have that, do carry that disease?
Well, one thing is you can take away from today what we learned, and it can help aid with inflammation. It can help aid with sleep and anxiety. If you're someone who has trouble going to sleep, you can have a shot of our ginger spice caramel apple cider about an hour before you go to sleep. If you're someone who has trouble staying asleep, this cider will help you. Running around with pain, any activities that you're doing extraneously, say you have a workout regimen, CBD products also help with active recovery. It can help calm your mind, your body, your muscles, and it taps into the creativity element in our brain so you can focus in on and or open your mind up to allow the art that you're creating to come to fruition.
Mayor, before you take off, is there anything that you want to give as a call to action to, before we go into the audience, us caregivers, caregivers who have caregave for sickle cell, us caregivers who have worked in sickle cell, us caregivers who have fought for sickle cell before that testing that I discussed earlier that I didn't get a chance to get? What would you like to say to us?
I'd say I need to tell you that you are inspirational to me, that right now we have an opportunity. We see the ignorance coming out of DC. We see the cuts to Medicaid and Medicare, and we have the country's attention on our needs right now. And so we don't have to do annual things. We could think about it. We're doing it annually, let's do it quarterly. We could talk about, quite frankly, just having awareness parties. And so when I mentioned, for example, my wife serves on the board of Fred Hutch, and I have a lot of family and friends out here, and you know my family, that let's think about creatively and how we can go to the big funders. One thing about Seattle is we are a wealthy city. It's bittersweet. It's bitter that a lot of people cannot afford to buy $1 million house now. We get that. But we have to make sure that these large corporations, through their corporate social responsibility, if you got Black folk, for example, at Amazon or Starbucks or Microsoft, Let's gather everyone and say, this is our cause right now. This is something you can do. You can write checks. We can make the whole medical community here know the urgency of this need. So imagine how we could pipe into that African American Mayors Association, who are the outstanding Black folk throughout this country, and really bring awareness. So I'm all in with you, so let's do this together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Harrell. Talk to us a little bit about that. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand with sickle cell if they're not in our community is how the change of seasons impact us. Can you please just share a little bit with the audience about how the change of seasons has or may have impacted you?
Because, there's that one day in spring where it's 80 degrees, it's beautiful. You think, okay, spring is here, let's go.
Sure.
And the next day it might be snowing. And so for that, it triggers pain for us because my body and the blood in me is like, wait, whoa, hold on. Yesterday you had the air conditioner on, now you got a heating pad on. So it has been hard. Imagine being 10 years old and not being able to explain that, to your parent or your caregiver, although yesterday I was sweating on the playground, today I'm shivering under the covers and I'm in excruciating pain. But not only are you unable to tell your parent or caregiver, and they're rushing you to the hospital, not being able to articulate that to predominantly white medical professionals who believe that I'm faking it, that I'm really not going through what I'm going through. It was absolutely difficult as a young Black patient of sickle cell.
What is Children's doing to work and communicate with the other hospitals in the region for families that can't make it to the main hospital?
We are partnering, first of all, with the Sickle Cell Task Force, so working closely with them to really educate the community as best we can. We're also trying to communicate with those other hospitals as well, to provide additional education. And we're learning from other hospitals too. Mary Bridge is another hospital that sees a number of patients with sickle cell, and we are learning from how they're introducing families to sickle cell. We are really trying to spread the word and training good candidates from Seattle Children's who will go out in the community and be those providers that you might see later on. But I think that education is really critical to know how you can treat a patient effectively early on, and I think too that we can set an example for the best care.
Sickle cell is interesting in that we talked about it being invisible. You never know who has sickle cell, what it looks like, because it can impact any part of the body. So with that being said, the experiences are that nuanced. When I am in the hospital setting, when I'm meeting with families, I am going to, number one, just introduce myself. I'm going to build rapport. I'm going to start building the relationship, and so they know that I can be a resource to them. We partner with the school districts. We partner with community organizations just to be able to plug families in. I feel very honored to partner with families because oftentimes they're teaching me.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And so they're coming to me with what they have already done. I'm able to meet them where they are and then just try to take it a step further. So I see what you've done. Let me go and try to get you an additional resource so I can get you, in this door that maybe you didn't even know existed.
Veronica, can you just talk to us about what is sickle cell?
Sickle cell was life-changing for me. I gave birth to my daughter in a foreign country. I was living in Germany at the time, and my husband was on an assignment. He was in the military, so he was on assignment in Germany. We were there when the wall came down. When I gave birth to her, she was having unexplainable bouts of crying, unexplainable pneumonia, when I knew I was doing everything to care for her. I had no idea would literally take me on a course of learning that my daughter had a genetic blood disorder that would have her on repeated hospitalizations that would eventually lead to her untimely death at the age of 28. It would change my life, y'all. It would mean that the hospital would become my second home. Her joy, her legacy was to activate voices, circles, activate me to organize these stories and space for our voices to be heard.
Absolutely. When you think about your coaching career, what would, and it's hard to know your own legacy, but what would you say your biggest legacy is as a coach?
Preparation, I
Preparation?
think. Yeah, I think that my teams were always prepared to play. We were ready, no matter who it was, because we walked through what we were going to need to do, how we were going to help one another, how we want to get back to where we're supposed to be, things like that. So we prepared for that. You know, we didn't just think it was going to happen.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you for that. I mentioned to you when we were off camera that my daughter is a sickle cell warrior.
Yeah.
And just the pleasure of sitting here with you today as she's about to turn 10 years old in a month. Exactly a month from today, she'll be 10. And I want to just thank you for your contributions. And I also want to say that Seattle has some of the best sickle cell care in the country.
Well,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
I moved around for her, so I know.
Okay. Oh,
and I want to
great.
thank you for that, though, because that's really huge. What else? Is there anything you want to leave our young people with from a legacy standpoint about why legacy is so important?
I think it's important for young people to believe that they can make a difference. I want them to know that they can achieve. They can be successful, okay? And all it takes, hey, if you fall down, get up and start over again. I learned that real early in my career. And in my neighborhood, if I fell down, I was gonna get up because I was gonna let them know I'm coming right back. So, and I think that young people, you can make a difference.
I love that. Get knocked down 9 times, get up the 10th time. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
You're quite welcome.